Thank you all so much for coming to listen to me talk about the fact that I suck. Like, to a pathological degree, I am constantly grappling with the inalienable fact that I suck. I have this thing called imposter syndrome, or this idea in my head that, anything that I'm going to do or say has been said a million times before. And it has. A lot of what I'm going to say now, the last speaker actually kind of started to touch on. How many of us do you think felt that when we were 5 or 6 years old? Like, if somebody asked us in the same room if we were 5 or 6, to come sing or to show off the new language you've learned or make some art. Because at least where I was growing up, every person in the room would have done it. Everyone would have, stood up, given us a little twirl. Everyone would have tried to say something. Probably broken, probably incomprehensible. But we wouldn't have been trying to do it well, we'd just have been doing it. And that is because we were using probably one of the most fascinating gifts that evolution has given us. We were tapping into something that we lack as adults, because at that point we didn't have a silo, we didn't have a path in our life, we just had neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is this thing that was described by Gopnik et al. In 1999 very beautifully. They described that from the moment you are born, when you do things, and by doing anything, by crawling, by starting to walk, all these things that we actually see as this, linear series of events, what's actually happening in your brain is that your mind is expanding, and by that I mean that your neurons, are growing. We all kind of grow. That's the thing that happens. We grow and then we decline. But your neurons are growing and looking for links to make. They're like these fizzing telephone wires of potential that are looking for the right connections to latch onto to make synaptic links. And this is really dynamic, and it's not aimless. For context, from, being born to being a child, you go from about 2,500 to 15,000 synapses. That's 15,000 links of every time you have explored, the first time you've learned how to ride a bike, the first time you've scraped your knees, the first time you've, burnt your fingers on a pan cooking fish fingers. Every time we do something in a curious way and in a silly way, you're not just making your brain grow in a linear way, you're making it grow in an exponential way. Because what growing up does is it starts giving us frameworks to prune. So while our brain is already pruning, it starts whittling us down more and more. So, suddenly, there's a mark scheme to tell you how to create art. Like, what is that? There's a mark scheme to tell you how to do math. Suddenly, you're applying for jobs, and you're already ruling yourself out of the life you want. You're already ruling yourself out of the pay that you want. Before the world does it for you, you're calling yourself mediocre. You're telling yourself that you suck before somebody else does it for you. Suddenly and somewhat miserably, there's a right way to dress for a first date, and no matter who you are, that's apparently not how you dress for the first date. It's making yourself less you. And it's such a shame, because I just don't think that that is a life that you can enjoy. Like, do we enjoy that life? Do we enjoy, meeting half as many people and kissing half as many people we like for half as long? Do we enjoy being told that, you suck and this is where you are in life? Do we enjoy spending half our life wondering why that person over there managed to do twice the number of things in the same day? Do we enjoy making excuses for ourselves? I think instead of excuses, we might as well start making some decisions. Instead of making the excuse to not have the life you could, start making the choices you can to live the life you love. But that doesn't involve being good at something. That doesn't involve being good at anything. I mean, one of my partners is so fond of saying, I've never done a thing in my life. And it used to absolutely bother me. But I think it's actually kind of inspirational now. I do a few things. I do them somewhat competently. But while people are chasing the pinnacle of that, while everybody is trying to work themselves up to the top of the silo, sure, your neurons and your synaptic links strengthen and weaken over time. I'm trying to figure out the 100 ways to skin a cat instead. I'm trying to figure out the billion different ways to get from A to B. Because when my back's against the wall and 999 ways don't work, there will probably still be another one that I can probably do a half-good job of. Because I tried. Because despite feeling like I suck at everything, I suck at all the other 999 ways, I was willing to take the chance of actually being bad at that one other way so I could get good at it. I have one poster on my wall, and it says, "Don't manifest, steal." A few years ago, after being quite unwell for a while, because I had put so much stock into being something for other people, being other people's idea of me and not me, I lost the two most adventurous people in my life, the person who had brought me up and my best friend. I lost them very young, and they were very young, but everything that everybody said at their funerals and ceremonies was always, I couldn't ever imagine doing that. They lived such a short but a full life, and I was like, why can't that be me? And I made two choices. The first one was that every single day I was going to commit to being slightly more foolish so I could be slightly more in love. And the second one was that instead of waiting to do something, waiting to say that I had done something, waiting to be like, I'm a Gaeilgeoir, or I'm a musician, or I'm an artist, I was going to commit all of my energy to becoming the master of being the jack of all trades. And that taught me a few things. It taught me that the things that define us in the journey that we all share in life are whether we are willing to make decisions, whether we're willing to act on them, and whether we are willing to be the sort of person who courts change at any cost. So if you've also been paralyzed by the idea of change, if you've also been paralyzed by picking between two relatively indistinguishable options, but one of them is probably slightly better, I do have some good news. Because it turns out the intention has to come from you, but the actual decision that gets made could literally be a coin toss on the internet. A man called Stephen Levitt designed such a coin toss on the internet. It's a coin. It doesn't know what question you're going to ask it. Maybe it's better that way. 165,000 people visited the website with a coin to toss on the internet. And over 4 years, from gaining data to analyzing it to publishing it, Stephen Levitt described that the biggest challenge we have is that we are too cautious in making our own decisions. So of those people, there were 22,511 valid independent coin tosses. And he analyzed this, and he found something that is so reassuring to me when I wake up and I can't decide between one egg or two. He found that of the people who were told by the coin to change their life, the people who were told to change their life for the biggest decisions, for, divorce, knowing you're going to go through years of separation proceedings, for a new house that comes with refitting a new house, for changing your job, the people who asked a coin toss to make the bigger decisions in their life were not only happy when the coin told them to change, they subjectively described the coin as correct more often for making them make that change. Of those people, so the people who made changes were happier anyway, the people who made bigger changes were happier. Of those people who were told to change, the people who then actually did it, committed to it, and committed to keep changing their life with whatever it threw at them, were happier 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 months, and beyond. So if you're kind of wondering whether you'd like one egg or two, and one of those options is probably going to make you happier, but you don't know which yet, the decision to change your life, to actually give yourself the options, is the first step. So I'm not going to even ask or even consider what every one of you wants to do to have the life you love. Because we're all strangers, and our ideal life is going to look strange to every stranger around us, because it's dynamic, it's very personal. But what I will say is, I will ask you from the second that you step out of your seat today, the second you leave this room today, what are you willing to do for it? If you feel like you suck, how bad and how small are you willing to feel? How often are you willing to be the smallest person in the biggest room? What are you willing to do to have the life you love? And how often are you willing to keep doing it? And I'm going to tell you to keep doing it. I'm going to tell you to keep messing up. I'm going to tell you to keep failing. I'm going to tell you to keep putting yourself in the deep end of the pool. And while you're there, become familiar and become enamored with the idea of courting change. So a lot of people here today, a lot of people, on TED stages in general will tell you about change. I went on the TED website to try and develop this talk. And there were 87 pages full of people talking about climate change and geopolitical change and all these big things that affect us. But nobody kind of just said, court change and keep courting it and keep falling in love with it. So I'm probably going to tell you that now. Sometimes we see the decisions that we have to make and the actions we have to take for the life we love as this, huge 90-degree shift or this 180-degree shift or a 360-degree shift. And it's so impossible to break down that you think, I suck at living the life I love, rather than, okay, this is my step 0 to do this, this is my step 0 to do this, and so on. Instead of this turn in one go, take a 5-degree turn for every decision you make. Collect your change at the end, go to jail for a while, like roll the Monopoly die, whatever. Take a 20-degree turn for every action you make, because that is the bulk. That is the bulk of your commitment. And then give yourself a 5-degree leeway for the changes that life will throw at you. And become used to doing that over and over again. The one thing that you'll learn if you're on this journey to creating the life you love is that change will be thrown at you whether you go out for it or not. And that you are responsible for every action you produce to it. If you decide on something and you act on it, you are responsible for the consequences of that action. And life will throw those back at you anyway. So if there's anyone in this room who's just sat there going, oh no, I can fix him when somebody is mistreating you, I'm sorry. You're investing more of your energy, more of your decisions and your actions into somebody else who is benefiting from your unhappiness rather than you benefiting from your own happiness. If you want to do music production like me and you're like, I can't sight read, I hate sight reading. But if you're committing to getting good at an instrument and good at doing things the right way, there is a chance that you're getting so good and putting in so much energy to doing the wrong thing for you the right way, because it makes you feel like you're making linear progress, that you're getting really bad at sucking at lots of different things, like trying a lot of different wrong ways to get to the right life for you. If you are stuck in an 8-year life trajectory that is very different from where you want to be in 4 years' time, then it is up to you to find where the change lies in it, where the options lie in it, to steer your life in a different direction. This, I think, at the end of the day, is vital. All of us here are an amalgam of our challenges and our opportunities and our changes. We all share a common journey in life, believe it or not. We share, where we start from, the circumstances we come from. And that is the best place to be if you want to keep sucking and keep telling yourself you suck. Because the money we come from, the backgrounds we come from, no decision or action or change can change that fact. We all start somewhere. They may be different, but we all start somewhere. But it is the decisions and the actions and the changes you make that define your trajectory between the silo that the world gives you, the life that the world manifests for you and says you should have, and the life that you love, a life that you could be proud of. It is the choices and the changes we make, rather than the excuses that we put ourselves into, that allow us to proceed through that trajectory, that allow us to build a life that is full of a bit more compassion for other people and for ourselves, that is full of a bit more curiosity for other things and for learning about ourselves. It is a life that is a lot more full of potential. That just when you're getting to that top, that life you love. You'll find maybe in that extra last mile that you have to go, that you actually wanted something different entirely, that you actually wanted to change your course entirely. It is about finding acceptance. It's about giving thanks. It's about giving thanks for the fact that of all the places in the world, of all the struggles that we could be having, we are in this room today. And it is about using that gratitude to actually power yourself forward, to say, maybe I am happy where I am now. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm happy with knowing that I suck. But if I am going to suck anyway, I might as well at least suck at trying something slightly new and slightly different, and slightly closer to this person in my head that I could be, slightly closer to having the life that I could have, slightly closer to being somebody that I can be proud of.